Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McKerrow from Discovery Best Consulting Limited. This time round, I wanted to share with you the messages that we gained, or I personally gained, from listening to the first 5 interviewees in our series, Just Take a Minute. And just to remind you, the interviews were with Catherine Schermacher from Love to Climb, Nikki Davies, who's the CEO of Wava Global, Neil Hallam, photojournalist and author, Quentin Kopp, chairman of Hollywood Limited, and Joy Langley from Stop Feeling Stressed Out. And Joy is a life coach and cognitive behavioural therapist. And so I've written out the messages, and then I've scored myself against those messages using a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being, I never do this. 2, I rarely do it. 3, I sometimes do this. 4, I often do this. And 5, I always do this. And so let me start by sharing with you the messages. There were 27 of them in total. So take control of yourself. Trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Trust your intuition. Be brave. Have courage. Never give up. Don't give up. Keep going. Be patient. Have perseverance. Be authentic. Know your core values. Nothing is lost. Look for the golden nuggets. Grab opportunities. Take up opportunities. Keep your eyes open for opportunities. Keep your eyes open. Remember to set goals. Be clear about your direction. Get funding. Define wealth for yourself. Become and remain your own cheerleader. Remain in gratitude. Be a good listener and make yourself accessible. So I've gone through, as I say, and I've scored myself using that system of 1 to 5. And I'll just repeat that again. 1 is I never do it. 2 is I rarely do this. 3, I sometimes do this. 4, I often do this. And 5, I always do this. So I've also put them into sort of, I've batched them up, so they're all sort of in categories as well to make it easier, because the messages that came out for me had certain themes, and so I've done those in those as I say, in those batches. So take control. I've scored myself a 4. I often do this. Trust myself. Again, a 4. Believe in myself. Again, a 4. And trust my intuition. Again, a 4. Be brave. I've scored myself a 3 on this one. Likewise, have courage. Again, scored myself a 3. I think I could be braver about some of the things that we do in the business, and I could take a few more risks maybe in terms of the business. So that's where being brave and having courage come into it. And for me, that's a 3. 5, I've scored myself a 5 for never give up, don't give up, keep going, be patient and have perseverance. 5, I will continue, I will push forward, I will push on, I don't give up. And so for me, that's a 5, definitely. I always do this. Be authentic. I scored myself a 4 for that one. I think there's room for improvement there on that one. Know your core values. And I've scored myself a 5 on that one. I know what my core values are. I work to my core values as much as I possibly can. not every set of circumstances I find myself in where I can. And that's, I think, why I've scored myself slightly lower on the authenticity as well. I think sometimes particularly when you're working in teams or working in groups, you have to go along with the flow of the main theme of that group, or particularly if you're working in a large group. So for me, I've scored myself a 4, which is still a pretty good score on that one. So nothing is lost. This message came from Nikki Davies from Wava Global, and Nikki was talking about not losing sight of your experience. She was talking about not consigning experience that you've gained in the past to the bucket called spent. You can use all of that to propel yourself forward. And so I scored myself a 4 on that, because I think I don't always use all the experience that I've gained in what I'm doing now, partly because it doesn't necessarily fit, but moreover because I just don't see the usefulness in it. And so that was a useful message for me. Look for the golden nuggets is a 5. That's something that I love to do in terms of when I'm looking at the interviews and reviewing the interviews and talking to people, or if I'm talking to people in person, what I'm reading or what I'm watching. I do look for the golden nuggets, those messages that I can take away, that I can use to help me in my own life and work. Grab opportunities. I've rated myself a 3 for that. I don't think I always grab the opportunities. Again, likewise, the take up opportunities, grab opportunities in the same vein, really. Again, scored myself a 3. I think opportunities come my way and I don't always take them. And again, that's partly because I don't like the fit of the opportunity with me, my values. Although I can see that it's an opportunity, it doesn't necessarily fit with me. It may be about the person that's presenting the opportunity to me, and that incorporates all the stuff of know, like, trust, doesn't it? There. So I scored myself a 5 on keeping my eyes open and looking for opportunities, and looking for opportunities generally, but not on grabbing the opportunities and taking the opportunities up. So some work that could be maybe done there. Remembering to set goals. I've rated myself a 5 on that one. I do set goals. I set quite clear goals, and I do set actions. I do evaluate my goals, and I do look at how I can make things better for the future. So goal setting is one of the things that I do. It's one of the things that I teach. And so for me, that I find that it's really important to how I live my life and work through my life setting goals. Be clear about your direction. I've set myself, or scored myself, sorry, a 4 on that one. And actually, looking at it now, I probably would go a bit further and say that I will score myself a 3 on that one. And that's because that right now, watching this April 2020, we are in lockdown. Coronavirus is out there. It's part of and it is the reason for the lockdown and the global pandemic that we see ourselves in at the moment. And so my direction isn't necessarily as clear as it would normally be. And so although I've originally scored myself a 4 on that, I think I would actually score myself a 3 on that one. Get funding. I've scored myself a 1 on that one. So a 1 is I never do this. I used to do this, or I did do this in the early stages of my business. I did my business plan. Still do a business plan, but I did my business plan there, went to the bank, managed to get a loan for my business, which was great, quite a nice sum of money to get me kick-started and to move me forward. And so again, I see that as a blessing, because I know a lot of people go to banks and don't get don't get their businesses funded, but I managed to do that. So I have gained funding in the past, but I haven't done it in more recent years, grants and all that sort of thing. I've avoided that because I see it as a headache, as complicated, and of hoop jumping. So something that maybe I'd want to revisit and maybe look at again. Define wealth for yourself. That's the 5. That is something that I definitely do. I don't rely on anybody else's definition of success, of wealth, or who or what I should be. And so I'm able to comfortably score myself as a 5 on that one. Become and remain your own cheerleader. I've scored myself a 3 on that one. I don't think I always champion myself. I do it a lot, but I don't always do it as well as I could. And I'm not always consistent in championing myself. And so that's something that I would like to work on into the future. Getting more comfortable with doing videos and things like that. So yeah, so into the future, that would be something that I would want to see myself doing more of, championing and being my own cheerleader, really. Remain in gratitude. Now this one I've scored myself a 5 for. I do remain in gratitude. I'm very grateful for what I have, the skills that I've gained throughout my years, and how I employ those skills, the roles that I've managed to get and do. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm also grateful for what I have around me as well. So yes, very grateful. Be a good listener. I've rated myself a 3 on this one. I think there's room for improvement. I don't always hear the messages, and maybe need to check out messages that I am hearing better. So that's something that I would like to work on. And making myself accessible. Again, rating myself a 3 on that one. I think there's scope to look at different ways of making myself accessible and getting myself out there. And so that's the end of the messages. So I'd be really interested to know how you might rate yourself on a personal, professional level against this scoring system of 1, I never do this, 2, I rarely do it, 3, I sometimes do this, 4, I often do this, and 5, I always do this. This is a system, a rating system that I use all the time for different activities, because it just gives a broader spectrum of involvement rather than I do it or I don't. So it gives you a better cop out, a better way of navigating rather than copping out of how you see yourself. So I'd be interested, as I say, to see how you rate yourself against some of the statements that I've got, which ones stand out for you as being important, and also which ones are your lowest scores as well as your highest scores. So please make a comment in the comment box, send me a private message, and I look forward to reading how you score yourself.